Right, well, good evening. I'm glad you could be here, and I apologize I was unable to be with you here tonight. I'm at my own daughter's Meet the Teacher night at her school. She's a freshman. So let me tell you a little bit about myself to start. So I am in my 27th year of teaching middle school math. Started when I was 12. No, I'm in my 21st year here at Cary Academy, and I started as a full-time math teacher and advisor, and now I am the assistant head of middle school. I believe I'm in my 11th year in that role. So I am the assistant head, as well as teaching 2 sections of 6th grade math and a 6th grade advisor. And there you'll see I have a stepson that just graduated from high school and is now a freshman in college. And then my daughter on the left has just started her freshman year at Gibbons, and my stepdaughter on the right will be just started this week, in fact, at West Johnston High School. So I'm hoping that your student may have told you a little bit about having a growth mindset and some of the things that I've been trying to teach them over the past week and a half. I had the pleasure of taking 2 courses with Joe Bowler at a Stanford University and just talking about Carol Dweck's philosophy of having a growth mindset. And I've outlined some of the key things here, but I've really tried to reiterate this in class in terms of math is not about speed. Math is about making mistakes, and we make mistakes, and they help grow our brain. And I want them asking questions, and questions are really important. Nobody is a math person, and I really try to tell them and reiterate to them that I really hope they're not hearing from you as their parents that, well, I wasn't a math person, or I'm not good at math, because nobody's born a math person. In fact, in a video I showed them, we talked about Michael Jordan. He wasn't born a great basketball player. He had to learn how to be a great basketball player. So we're going to spend a lot of time in class. It's not drill and practice. It's going to be the application. I want them to go in depth to things. I want them to find multiple solutions to things. I want them learning. It's not about performing. It's a growth subject, and it takes time and effort. I never ever want to hear them say, I can't do this, or I don't know this. And in fact, when they ask me a question, I'll lead them, and I'll start by saying, well, tell me what you do know. And I encourage you to do the same thing at home, and we'll talk a little bit about that later with some homework. So how do we work class? Well, we typically begin class with a warm-up every day, and you may have seen their OneNote notebooks. Everything is in there. We'll do a combination of student-centered and teacher-centered, and as you can see around you in the classroom, they're in tables, groups of 4, and I might ask them to work with their partner or somebody just sitting next to them, or I may ask them to talk about it as a group. Sometimes they may have to think individually for a minute or 2 and then share their answers with the group. We do a lot of group learning, and I tell them and I tease with them saying, I certainly don't want to listen to myself for the full class period, and I don't want them to have to sit there and listen to me. And we will change seating groups. The minute they start to get very social, I realize how comfortable they are, and I'll change things around just a little bit. And of course, incorporating writing, like I said, diving deeper, asking them to explain their mathematical thinking, which a lot of them are hesitant at first because they just want to be able to come up with the right answer. But I want to know, how did they come up with that right answer? Or can they perhaps elaborate on that? Or can they find a second or a third answer to the exact same problem? Or perhaps even a different approach to solving that same problem? Once again, how class is organized. Like I was saying earlier, the goal is to gain a better understanding of the math concepts. 2 things we do, well, in terms, I'm going to jump down to the bottom one here, seeking assistance. If a student is having difficulty, and they've heard me say this, don't email me at night, because I'm not necessarily checking my work email at night, or they may not get a response from me. So I encourage them to talk to their peers, ask you for help. Any student, whether they're in Mrs. Allen, which is Mrs. Henry at the moment, if they have Mrs. Allen or myself for Math 6, they have the same notes, the same homework, the same quizzes. Everything is identical, so they can ask somebody in a different class. They can also see me. They can see me during break. They can see me after school. And then Tuesday and Thursday study halls are a great time to get some math help. The middle thing is something that may be new to both you and your child. We do something called an Are We There Yet? Before each quiz, in the days leading up to it, we will have an Are We There Yet?, which is a snapshot of just the new skills learned since the prior quiz. And they'll take that, they get it back the next day, and then I ask them to do corrections on the Are We There Yet? I will give a grade, like it may say 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10, but it doesn't go in the grade book per se. It doesn't go towards their calculated average. but it's the corrections that they do. So they're going to go home, they're going to think about their mistake. Was it a careless mistake, an arithmetic, or a process mistake? I call that CAP, C-A-P. What kind of mistake was it? They're going to rework the problem and then also try to get it right the second time. And they can have help. They can have help from me. They can have help from you. They can go back through their notes and use their notes to help them find. So not only trying to help them grow their brains from learning the mistake, but also kind of training them to use their notes and to go back. And it's a way to study for math. So that's something you'll be hearing about, and that growth grade will go in the grade book. So this is their OneNote notebook. This is the current chapter we're on, number sense. And they have both notes, homework, sometimes even classwork in there. Everything they need is outlined in their OneNote notebook. And if they need more room, they can add pages as they need. But I push out one chapter at a time. So right now we're working in chapter 1. And when we finish chapter 1, I'll push out chapter 2. So they have everything they need. There's no papers to get lost. It's already self-organized for them. If they wish to do work on paper using good old-fashioned paper and pencil, that's fine with me. But it really just takes out that there's no heavy math book to carry around. They have their tablet. They're getting used to using their stylus and doing all their work right there in the notebook. One thing I do want to point out, and you can't see it here, but anytime they have notes, you will see 2 copies of those notes. What I do as a teacher is I keep a teacher version and I push that through in their notebook. So if a child is absent, or perhaps maybe they have a learning accommodation of getting a copy of class notes, or perhaps maybe they had a computer glitch, or maybe they just prefer to listen to me and participate in class and not be so consumed with writing their notes, they will always have a copy of my class note, my teacher notes following the lesson of the day. And that's also something you as a teacher, as a parent can look on and see. How is the grade calculated? So 10% is the "Are we there yet?" corrections. That's in what I call a growth category. Their homework, they will have nightly homework Monday through Thursday. It is due the next day. I don't accept late work unless there's a really valid excuse. So late work is not accepted. We do grade it right away, next day in class. I want them to understand if they understand the concept or they need help. If we have to wait several days before getting that homework back, they don't have the maturity yet to understand I need to go back and ask questions. So I like immediate feedback. Open-ended assessments is kind of my catch-all category. We might work on something in class, maybe with partners or in a group, or maybe it's an assignment or a writing assignment that they have several days to complete. That will fall in the open-ended assignment category. And then finally, quizzes, the 60%, and I say use for placement. We have found as a math department that we need to determine at the end of this year what class would best fit my students. So we use the in-class assessments since we know that that is something they did with very minimal assistance in class, and we use that. And of course, no extra credit. They may have told you about the ticket opportunities, and we do raffle tickets in class, and please ask them about that this evening. So I want to pause for just a moment. I would like for you all to just think about this question. Your students answered this question. And I'd like for you to pause for just a moment and see if you can figure out how to move just one stick to fix the equation. So we did this in class a few days ago, and the students came up with 4 possible solutions. One of the first ones, and perhaps the more obvious one, is taking the yellow stick from the plus sign and making this 8 minus 4 equals 4. A second solution would be taking this green and bumping it up so we have 0 plus 4 equals 4. A third possible solution is taking the blue from here, making this a 5, and now we have 5 plus 4, putting the blue up here, we have 5 plus 4 equals 9. And perhaps the one that's a little out of the box thinking would be taking the yellow off of the addition sign, making this a does not equal. So we would have 6 minus 4 does not equal 4. So that's one of the activities, and that's kind of the mindset I'm trying to get them in, is we don't just stop at one correct answer. We want to think outside the box, and we want to respect all the possible solutions that came up in class. So finally, just I want to kind of put it out there. So placement for 7th grade. So first of all, this should never be a surprise to anyone. We've had conversations as the year has gone on. You've seen grades come home. There's comments in every report card, and at midterm, if necessary, I'll put a midterm comment in there. But we do look at quiz assessments, and then we also ask ourselves, did they have a tutor, or do they perhaps seek my additional help a lot and have help? Does the student have learning differences? Are there a lot of outside extracurricular commitments? So this kind of thing is all taken into consideration when doing placement for 7th grade. So how can you help? So you're sitting there as the parents and you're like, what are we supposed to do? And all this new math, and there's no book for us to follow. So first of all, I say, look over your child's homework, but do not assist. You may say to them, you want to go back to maybe problem 4 and 9 and redo them, but please don't tell them what they did wrong. Let them discover that themselves. Help provide a quiet study area free of distractions. Check their planner for assignments and accordion folder for overall organization. Encourage your child to use available resources. They have me. I'll show you the website in just a moment where there's videos and other resources as well as some books. And of course, encourage your child to advocate for themselves. I have students sometimes come to me and say, well, my mom told me to come see you. And I said, well, you can tell your mom you saw me. But I really want them advocating for themselves. You know, if they have a question, what's their question? Don't just come to me and say, I need help. What is it you need help with? So helping them really get to advocating themselves, and you'll be amazed at how much they grow throughout the year. So on the website, you can find the grading and placement criteria, once again, how class works, an assignment calendar, especially for long-range planning. You'll see all the quizzes on there. You'll see the Are We There Yet's out there. And then resources such as books, websites, and videos. There are 2 books in particular that I do point out to parents that I find helpful. The first one is called Math on Call, and you can find this and a link to this on the website. This is just a very colorful handbook type of book. There's no problems to solve, but it really does explain it very simply, and I feel that both for the parent and the student, that's a helpful resource in addition to class notes. As well as if they need extra practice, this one called Math Steps. And I've liked this book in the past because there's more application problems in here, not just drill and practice. So I want to thank you all for being here tonight. I know that was a lot of information, and I just once again wanted to point out my email address is right here. Please email me with any questions or just stop in. You know, I'm on campus every day. I'm happy to answer questions if you want to pop in first thing in the morning or pick up in the afternoon. Leslie Williams should be in the room this evening. Leslie is a 7th grade teacher. She was previously on the 6th grade team, so she has also taught this class before and can hopefully answer any immediate questions you have. But I look forward to meeting you all for real at an event sometime soon, and thank you again and enjoy.